Welcome to the Hunt Fish Travel podcast. When she's not tiptoeing across 10 inches of hard water searching for the perfect place to ice fish, she's helping you navigate your trip of a lifetime. And now, here's your hostess, Carrie Zylka.
Welcome back to the Hunt Fish Travel podcast. As usual, I am your hostess, Carrie Zylka. Tonight, we are talking to Tommy Kemos from the Next Bite TV show. He's an incredibly accomplished angler and a Wisconsin native, so that's a bonus. We're going to be talking a little bit about electronics on the ice, as well as his upcoming session at the Wisconsin Ice Fishing Expo in December that I'll be exhibiting at. He'll be exhibiting at. You should come and visit us. It's going to be awesome. So, Tommy, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Carrie. I'm absolutely looking forward to this show. It being the first year and everything, I think it's going to be a really exciting deal, and I'm excited to speak, especially about the topic. So I love everything that has to do with the new technology that's out there, specifically the Garmin stuff. So
yes,
ready.
And I probably should have had this up already, but the dates for the Wisconsin Ice Fishing Expo is December 8th through 10th, of course, at the Sunnyview Expo Center in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Yeah, so are you going to have a booth at the expo?
I'm not going to have a booth. I will be there. I'm speaking on Sunday, I believe, at noon. And I'll be hanging around there for most of the day, though, especially after the seminar. I usually stick around for a few hours. So there'll be, if somebody doesn't get a question answered or has some other things they want to talk about, you'll be able to track me down there. I will be around for a while. So
perfect. That's what was going to be my next question. If somebody wants to hunt you down and get a picture with you, get an autograph, has some questions, where can they find you?
So, absolutely. Yep.
Very cool. Well, let's okay, so your seminar session is about live scope and such on ice. Why don't you give the listeners a little bit of an overview of what you'll be talking about?
Absolutely. So just to give you a little bit of history, I've been with Garmin since basically all of the forward-facing sonar technology started. So I've kind of been on the front side of it, and I was actually one of the first people that use it on the ice, including the new perspective mode. So we have a down mode, forward view, down view, and then a perspective view. And all of these different views have different applications, and there are some specific techniques, some specific bodies of water that you're going to use those different views. So basically, the seminar is going to be just taking you through how I utilize the live scope ice kit, and more importantly to kind of shorten the curve as far as learning some of the different techniques and applications that are out there for it. And once again, it is it seems silly to we're always talking about live scope, and to people that haven't experienced it, they're probably getting a little wore out with it. But that being said, I've been at this competitively in open water ice fishing my entire life, and I can tell you that since this technology came out, roughly 6 years ago, I'd say it has completely changed the way that I fish. It is all of the things that I thought I knew about how fish act, specifically under the ice. I was wrong about most of those things. So it's an exciting topic for me to talk about, because I think people have so much to learn from it. And once again, it's such a valuable tool. I'm just like everybody else. I have a busy schedule, and I don't have a ton of time to get out and fun fish, whether it's open water or through the ice. So I understand how valuable that time is. And the cool thing about this is that, with this technology, you're spending a lot less time wandering around drilling holes and hoping, and with this technology, you drill a lot less holes and you're onto the meat a lot quicker. So
Yeah,
it cuts way down on the searching time. They're fish, and you still have to figure out how to catch them. But it certainly puts you in position to have success on just about every trip. So
for sure. It is interesting. I have had very brief interactions. I did a media camp in Lake of the Woods in January, and somebody there had one, and it was really neat. I felt a little guilty a little bit because I felt like it was cheating, but um like you said, it's no different than hiring a fishing guide or hiring a deer outfitter in South Dakota. We live in Wisconsin. I don't have days and days and months to scout and figure it out and stuff. So any advantage, in my opinion, is a good thing. And
oh yeah.
especially for fishermen retention, for hunter, because if you just keep spending days and days and days and days out there not catching anything ever, you probably are going to eventually just not spend any days out there.
Well,
So,
yeah, and once again, it's yeah, the chase is fun, but catching fish is a lot of fun, and
yeah,
and
for real.
so this technology has just it's such a valuable tool in not only finding the fish, but it's also, because it's a live view, you can read how the fish are reacting to your presentation. You
Yeah,
can quickly determine if you have the right color on, if you're using the right size minnow or plastic tail, whatever. Like it just you can see how those fish are reacting. You can see how many fish just keep swimming and don't even make any sort of reaction on your bait. So you can
yeah,
quickly determine what, number one, what they want to eat. The Probably one of the most fascinating things for me through the ice is the the predator prey relationship, and how your pike, your walleyes, your fish that are on the top of the food chain, how they basically control the movement of everything else in the lake. So I do a lot of bluegill and perch fishing in the winter, and a lot of that is can be basin fishing, and it's amazing like how often those fish, they'll want to be in a certain spot, but because of the pike or walleyes or whatever is that's trying to eat them, it will push them out away from that area, but they always will come back. So
hmm,
it's very
that's
interesting
interesting.
how that works. If you've ever rabbit hunted before, like when you're using dogs with them, the rabbits always circle all the way back to where you first encountered them. And a lot of times that's what the panfish do also. So in the past we said, well, they just quit biting. Well, no, they didn't quit
Yeah,
biting. They're gone. They're moving around, they're being pushed. And with this technology, I can stay in front of those fish, and instead of having to sit there and wait and hope that they're going to come back, I can stay on them until they make it back
hmm,
around. And so it's pretty cool. Like it really is. Like you can even the game fish and everything, to see how they, at certain times of the day, they'll come up in the water column. And with traditional sonar, when fish get high in the water column, a lot of times they're hard to see through the ice because you're stationary. So unless they swim
yeah,
directly underneath that tiny little cone, you aren't going to know those fish were there. Where with forward facing sonar, I can pan around and I can see exactly what's going on. So it really is
yeah.
some.
That's interesting. The It's amazing how far technology has come. Even, I forget how, I don't know when Vexlar first came out, but it's still tried and true. And I know a lot of old school fishermen are like, no, I would never use anything other than a Vexlar. I'm telling you right now, from my standpoint, it is just as complex sometimes to use that damn Vexlar as it is some of this new technology, you know? Like if you're really not paying attention, you do not understand the graphs really well, it can be very confusing. What would be like your number one tip that you would give somebody heading out onto the ice with some new electronics, whether it's a Vexlar or Life Scope? What would be like a general tip that you would give them?
So, without question, the number one tip that I would give anybody, whether it's on ice or open water, is to plan on going out and dedicating at least a few hours, if not a day, towards just learning the your equipment, learning your technology. You know, it's hard to do because whenever I get out on the water or get out on the ice, I want to be catching fish. So it's tough to do. But if you can be disciplined with it, go out and learn all the settings on it. You know, for example, somebody that's buying one of these live scope kits this fall yet while there's open water,
Yeah.
get that thing set up, go down to the local boat launch, walk out on the dock with it. That's going to be as close as you can get to an ice scenario because you're not moving, and
Oh, that's a good point.
learn how to pan around and learn what you're, while you can still see into the water and everything, it gives you the ability to see what you're panning out at. Even with 2D sonar, you know, like a Vexlar, like you're talking about, or you know, even with the Garmin, the Striker ice kits, you know,
Yeah.
which are graphs, and the, you know, the you're when you talk Vexlar versus a graph, the Vexlar is, you know, that's a flasher basically, so there isn't any memory there. So if you don't see it, if you don't see that fish move through the cone or move into the cone, you're going to miss it. Whereas
Yeah.
with you know, like a striker or a just a traditional 2D sonar, you know, in a graph setup, you can see the history, so you can see that a fish moved through. You can see that, oh, two fish have moved through up a little bit higher, even though you're concentrating on where your jig is at. With the graph, you can see that some fish moved through. So a lot of times you can reel up, you know. But anyways, getting back to your original question, like just taking the time to go out, learn the settings. Once again, like if you come to the show in 2 weeks and buy one of these units, don't wait till the lake freezes up to try and figure it out. Like I say, go down and utilize it and just learn all those settings. And once again, even
That's a good
that
point.
2D Vexlar or Striker or whatever it is that you end up getting, same thing. You can take that down on the dock also, and 9 times out of 10, there's going to be some bluegills or something
Mhm.
hanging around the dock.
Yeah.
Set
To
that thing in the
practice on.
water and fish. Drop your jig in, and at least get comfortable with seeing what the jig is doing down there and learning those pieces of it. It will make you a lot more successful out of the gates. Most of these units now are dialed in pretty well, that to whereas you can just turn them on and fish with them. You don't have to
Yeah.
force around a lot with the different settings. But as you get more advanced, you can pull more out of the units by playing around with the settings. I don't like to get too fancy in that department. Um, but yeah, for sure, like just plan on dedicating some time to learn it, and you're going to get a lot more out of the unit right away. Versus I the thing that I hate to hear from people is, oh, I took it out and I can't figure it out. It's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. And I'll say, well, so let me ask you something. Did you turn the thing on and start fishing? Well, yeah. And I'll
Right.
say, well, there's your problem, because, and this isn't to sound cocky or anything,
No,
but most people aren't good enough fishermen to be able to fish and do something else at the same time. So if you're trying to
you're
fish
right.
and learn this thing, it's hard to do, So,
Yeah,
um,
that was
just
me.
yeah. So just seeing that, once you have a few encounters with fish with any of these units, everything will just start to click at that point, and
Yeah.
but they aren't complicated machines by any means. There are a few things that, details that you need to know about because you are using them in extreme conditions. Things that you're going to need to pay attention to, but yeah, all in all, they're fairly straightforward and easy to use.
That is a great tip. Even I guess I never really think even if you've used it a bunch of years in a row, but then, ice goes out end of February, beginning of March or something, and you don't pick it up again for 8 months. Sometimes just kind of a practice session. I I bought mine. Funny story. I decided I was going to do this like 3-state DIY ice fishing trip, and of course it was like -30 the whole time. So on the way through Minnesota, I'm like, I'm gonna buy me a Vexlar. I'm gonna buy me a Vexlar. So I stop at the Cabela's in Minnesota, and of course they don't have any. Of course they don't. So I buy one of the Garmin EchoMap ice fishing bundles,
Yeah,
and I'm
perfect.
like, yeah, and it's amazing. Once I figured out but like you said, I was on my way up to a fishing trip, just like, oh, I'll just use it. I'll take it out of the box. It can't be that hard, right? I don't even think I actually figured out how to use it, really really use it and dial it in until last year. And it was hours of watching YouTube videos and stuff, we'll set this way and the gain this way and blah blah blah. And I really do wish, like you said, I had just taken like a day and figured it out and played with it. And sitting on a dock is such a great idea because then you have real time data instead of trying to sit in your living room and trying to figure out, well, what setting is better, or maybe I should do this. And that is a great tip. Seriously.
Yeah, I
And one
don't.
that I
One
man,
one thing for sure that I've with any of the electronics, like you can read the manuals, you can do all those sorts of things, but until you start pressing buttons and seeing how that graph or whatever reacts to the adjustments that you're making, in a real life setting, it it really isn't doing you any good to do all the reading. Like you're better off
yeah.
once again, like going out using it at that point. You at least kind of know what you're dealing with, and then if you're still struggling, like you say, there's nowadays with one of these we can figure
Mm-hmm.
out a lot of stuff. But
Literally. As you go, yeah.
yeah, and the other
Well,
thing too is, Garmin has an awesome staff of tech people too, like
yeah.
for walking you through. But most of the stuff doesn't require that sort of call. It's just more or less just getting a little seat time and learning the product really.
Yeah, for sure. So, all right, say I have sat on my pier and I have figured my Garmin out or whatever it is, Humminbird or whatever it is. What do you think? Say you go to a lake and you don't have any topo maps. Is there a way, like when you pull up to the dock and you're like, oh, here's a launch and it's good thick ice, and you look around at the lake, is there a spot that you're going to head without looking at topo maps? Because until you punch some holes into the ice and use your electronics, it's pretty hard to figure out what's on the bottom. But would there be like a tip that you would give somebody going out to a new lake? I guess everybody
Well,
has. I guess that's not really a fair question because everybody has access to topo maps nowadays.
yeah, I
Say
mean that
your phone breaks.
I'm going to tell you right. Well, here, this isn't a direct answer for you, Carrie, but I'm going to say number one: don't ever go to a lake without finding a topo map. And
Okay.
you know there there's a ton of um, Navionics has a free app that you can go on to get so many different lake maps just to get a start. Okay. Um, through the ice, if it's a tough question because there's so many different bodies of water, but
Yeah.
early ice,
Say lakes, just in
typically,
say Pewaukee Lake.
yeah. So Pewaukee early ice, if I'm trying to catch walleyes, I'm going to start out looking for shallow weed flats with decent weeds on them still that aren't completely dead. If you can find some green weeds first ice, you're going to be in good shape. And that's for walleyes. As far as like perch or crappies or anything like that, I'm going to head out into the basin and I'm going to start looking with my live scope. I'm going to concentrate on 25 to 40 foot of water is where I'm going to be looking.
Okay.
But typically first ice though that's the time. If you're gonna get fish shallow, it's right when that body of water doesn't have to be Pewaukee Lake. All the lakes experience it that have shallow weed flats. Same thing like with panfish. I'm going to, if I know there's a decent panfish population and there's decent shallow weeds, I'm going to look like for bluegills. I'm going to look for them shallow right away and expect that
Okay.
as the winter moves on, they're going to move out. So,
And is that because that's where the food is basically, and that's where they're, or is
yeah,
it
I
just because
mean,
it's like more oxygenated, or?
well, a lot of times these lakes, and this is my theory on it, but a lot of times when the lakes turn over, those deep basin panfish will go from being out deep, they'll come in shallow at that point, and they'll stay in shallow as long as there's food. And a lot of times you'll have young of the year fry and stuff like that in the shallow weeds. But once the ice thickens up, in some situations the ice gets so thick that the fish are no longer comfortable in that shallow water. The oxygen level is no good,
Mm-hmm.
water's too cold, and they'll move out because the deeper basin, that water is warmer, like midwinter. And then
Okay.
they'll stay out there until you get that spring warm up where you start getting some runoff into the lake, and that will draw those fish back up into the shallows typically. So
Gotcha. Okay.
yeah.
Cool. Well, let's transition a little bit over to the show that you're on. Why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about that?
The Next Bite TV.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm one of the hosts of The Next Bite. The show has been around for many, many years. I was given the opportunity. The show is started by Keith Cavallas, uh, Pete Mena, and Gary Parsons originally. And just recently, Gary Parsons and his son Chase took the show over, and it gave myself, Corey Springle, and Jason Shakur an opportunity to host it. So it's a great group of guys. We are, they're information based shows. So we go out, we have a lot of fun catching fish, but they're packed with tips and really good fishing information. If you watch one of those episodes without learning something, you weren't paying attention. So um,
And where can
pretty
people
cool
watch
deal.
them?
Um, the first quarter, the show airs on the Discovery Channel on Saturday mornings. And then throughout the year, it airs on CBS Sports, and about all of the different streaming services carry it. So we and all the episodes end up on YouTube at some point as well. So you can go onto our
Okay.
YouTube channel and see all of the past episodes, which is kind of cool as well. So, but
That's cool.
the primary airing is the first quarter, and that's Discovery Channel. I believe it's 6:30 on Saturday mornings Central Time. So
Gotcha. With the advent of YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, every social media platform and videos, and everybody's got a smartphone with 4K capabilities these days, what would be a piece of advice you would give to somebody who wants to create some just basic, like 5-minute fishing videos that they'd like to put on their YouTube channel? What would be your number one piece of advice to somebody who would like to do that?
I think the biggest piece of advice is, no matter what you're doing, and credibility is the most important thing, and just make sure whatever you're doing is, um, you're talking about or showing something that anybody can go do. That it's the real deal, I guess, is the biggest thing. If you're
Yeah.
showing somebody how to
You
catch
don't
a
have,
certain fish, make sure that you're catching that fish on the bait that you're talking about, and doing, like those sorts of
yeah.
things there. That's the biggest thing. And um excuse me,
So that's a good
fishing
point.
is fun. So make sure that you're having fun doing it, so that, I think that's
Cool.
the biggest thing. You're, it's the business end of fishing is a process. It's not a, you're not going to get rich overnight
Yeah.
doing it. But yeah, if you're, yeah, just come up with some, everybody loves to see fish being caught, but make it
Yeah.
something that you're teaching people, and it's educational. Because, like, at the end of the
Yeah.
day, like, oh, great, you caught a big fish, you caught another big fish, great, 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 great. Like,
I know it's cool for the
let's
first 10
let's
times
talk
and you're like,
about, like, tell me
yeah.
how you're doing it, so um
Yeah.
there's, they don't really, yeah, so that, I guess that's the main thing. I don't know if that was really a direct
No,
answer,
that
but
is it's actually a really good answer. I have found over the years that I tend to gravitate to I don't watch a lot of hunting and fishing videos. I go in spurts. It depends on the season. I'm sure like anybody. But sometimes if the person is like super boring, monotone, take themselves too serious, I'm like, no, thank you. That go kind of walking back to that, not walking back to that authenticity where I really want to see you enjoying what you're doing, not being an idiot, not being Jackass 2.0,
hmm.
and having a good time with it while I'm picking up some tips maybe for the next hunter fishing trip that I'm gonna go on. So I think that I don't know. It's just such a funny animal, YouTube. Like, and it just has morphed into this insanity, and boy, there are some really bad videos out there. Just because you have a cell phone that takes 4K video does not mean you should have a YouTube channel. Oh my god. You know?
Yeah,
But
it's a whole nother business now.
oh god.
So, but it's
But there's
it,
a lot of really good
good
video out there too.
good entertainment.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, cool. Well, why don't you tell the listeners where they can find out a little more about you? We talked about the TV show, but where can they go to find out more about you and like some of your angler standings and maybe any upcoming schedules for seminars and such?
Yeah, you can track me down. I'm on Instagram and Facebook at Tommy Kemos. Also, we have a really nice website through the Next Bite, and once again, the Next Bite TV. On YouTube, we have a ton of tips and all of our old episodes. That's really the best way to see more of what I'm doing. As far as the schedule goes, it's still a little bit early yet, so I don't have everything pinned down. But matter of fact, we're still finishing up filming for our shows. So I've got one more show to film yet. Matter of fact, tomorrow I'm filming tips all day. So, but
Oh, really?
Yeah, but
That's
through the
cool.
next bite is the best way to track me down and
Okay.
see what we're all up
Nice.
to for sure. Yep.
Gotcha. I'm just looking up the Facebook URL is literally just facebook.com the next bite TV. So,
Yeah,
and I will
pretty
of course I'll link to all that stuff in the show notes too so people can find you really quickly and find the TV show and the schedule there too. And
it's good.
like I said earlier, I hope to see everybody at the Wisconsin Fishing Ice Expo. Yeah,
Yeah,
ice fish. Jeez.
it's gonna be a good time. It's gonna be a
It
good
is going to
time.
be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
there should be some. The seminar lineup looks really good, and it sounds like there's some great vendors there. So it should be a great way to kick off the ice season. We're gonna, that we're usually within a week or two of first ice right after that show. So the
Yep,
timing of it should be good here in Wisconsin. So
definitely. Again, the Wisconsin Ice Fishing Expo, December 8th through 10th, 2023, the Sunnyview Expo Center in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Go see Tommy on Sunday at noon and then swing by to booth 201. I'm going to be right across the way from Ion, which that's a whole other funny story how I ended up with an Ion, totally random. And so I'm excited to pick their brains a little bit too about auger tips and tricks. So
sure, yep.
very
I
excited.
have one nice piece of equipment.
I hosted a female ice fishing trip on Lake Poygan. Man, we caught nothing. And I had my 2 drills, my drill augers. It was like 0 degrees and nothing was working. And we were all like, this sucks. I don't know what to do. And one of the gals was like, I'm going to go to that shack and I'm going to ask that guy to come and punch some holes. And he did. And he had this really nice Ion. So literally on the way home, I stopped at Cabela's and I don't know, I was looking for a cheaper one, but I was like, that's all they have. And I'm like, look, ladies, I'll be ready for next time. And then we didn't even go back out the next weekend. So there I am. But it was such a shenanigans. But I was like, boy. But then when I did get to use it, I was like, oh, this is nice. This is so nice.
Oh yeah, they are nice for sure.
Yeah. So I'm really excited about being across the hallway there from them. So I don't know. I'm really excited about the show. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. A lot, like you said, a lot of great vendors. It didn't happen last year. It's going to happen this year, and it's going to be awesome for years to come, I think.
Yeah, well, the Wisconsin Fishing Expo is definitely that is the show every year in Wisconsin. So I don't expect anything less from
Yeah.
this crew when they run this ice expo. So it should be. I expect it to be pretty solid. So
Yeah. Agreed.
yeah.
Well, cool. Well, again, I appreciate you coming on the show, and I will let you get back to your night.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate it, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
All right, sounds good.